so let's start with like, now you're at the point where, you and the other creative folks at Bose Bar are coming up with these ideas on, hey, even though
Hmm.
you gave us vanilla, we turned it into like, chocolate sherbet, right? And so now we're ready to go. So what do you how do you approach these folks? I guess, what would you is your approach?
Well, I think first and foremost, so you've done the work, you kind of know, or hopefully know, what they're about, what they like to talk about, report about. So the first thing you want to do when you're approaching them, and I mentioned this earlier, is to really understand your story. Sometimes it's best to write it out 3 or 4 different ways on how you're going to approach them, and then look at that. What I like to do and what I like to coach, especially the younger folks that work at the PR agency, the first thing they'll say is, I just wanted to contact you. I did this. I have this. Me. Well, right away, a busy reporter is going to turn you off because what's in it for them, because that's their livelihood. They want to write a good story. So you want to prove to them that you're going to help them nail a good story, right? Their editor is going to reward them. It's going to be interesting. It's going to drive a lot of traffic to the outlet. You have to think that way, is like, how do you make it about them when it's still about you?
Mhm.
So you have to practice that a little bit on the side so you're confident in that that's the way it's going to appeal to them. Then once you feel confident about that, then there's a few things that you want to do right away when you're bringing that story to them. First of all, they're interested in something that's new. They don't want to write about anything that's old. So you have to think about it that way, and sometimes timeliness is very critical. And if it's not like super brand new, but it's very interesting and it's in that vein of the things that they like to talk about, then you want to bring their attention to what's newest and most important right up front. Don't waste time. Don't send them a thesis. Brevity's your friend in that first connection. And then let them know that you understand their beat, their audience. And it's kind of funny whenever I'm presenting this, there'll be like 5 or 6 things that you want to do, and then somebody will say, "Well, you just said brevity's your friend," So
Mhm.
one way to do that, you can actually send them a lot of information, but spread it out. My boss Curtis always likes to say, "White space is your friend." A lot of white space. Then it doesn't look like this big text wall. They get 200 emails a day like that, and they don't have time to read them all. So you want a small burst, make sure that they can read it on a mobile phone. So a good way to test your pitch is to send it to yourself. And if it looks all cluttered and hard to figure out on a mobile phone, then you need to practice that a little bit more. So those are like the first few things to think about, is just make it as easy for them as possible and understandable, something that they can digest, and don't tell your whole story in one shot. Like, make them want to hear more. And that's really key. But again, back to new timeliness, relevance. That's what's going to be important to them. So think about what part of your story is going to be news. I mean, part of the word in news is new, and it's really true.